And this is Keep On Living, and my name is David Knight. And I am doing this episode, I don't know why, because I really don't want to do it. I don't want to talk about me. Most podcast producers and most podcast hosts, they talk about themselves and what brought them here and all that kind of stuff. And that's good, and I get that. And that will happen over time. I don't think I need to do a dedicated episode about me. Uh, I think as we get into each episode and I begin to tell about my life and my stories and my history and stuff, you're going to learn about me and you're going to understand what has brought me to doing a show about health, wellness, um, lifestyle, and living as long as we possibly can on this beautiful planet, right? I don't think it's something that I need to do in a dedicated episode. Um, so why am I doing Keep On Living? I'm doing Keep On Living because I feel that many people out there, especially part of the older generation, if you want to say baby boomers and older, my mom now is in her mid 80s and stuff like that. Um, we're not getting, and I think this is true of the majority of the population out there, we're not getting enough information about health, wellness. You know, um, it's been allopathic medicine and Western medicine for a good 100 years, maybe even, I believe even more than that, but definitely a good 100 years of allopathic medicine and Western medicine and surgeries and pills and drugs and stuff like that for a long time. And I think that um, life, humanity, science, people as a whole are beginning to realize that the original ways of dealing with our bodies and our whole bodies was healthier. And I think I think when you look at um, cultures from Africa, cultures from India, cultures from China, from Japan, Indonesia, Thailand, Latin America, aka South America. When you look at those cultures, Native Americans as well, of course, when you look at all those cultures and how they dealt with healing, health, injury, stuff like that, um, it tends to serve not only the human body and humanity much better, but also the planet as well. And that's why I'm here. Um, and that's what Keep On Living is really all about. Me, in terms of my story, I guess I'll give a little brief thing about me. Uh, uh, I'm a composer, songwriter, musician, um, producer of music. I'm a bass player. That bass is my main instrument, though I do play enough piano to write my songs and to compose my music. And I do play enough drums to hold down a beat and to record it into the computer and get it going to get a groove. And if I can't, I got friends who are drummers and they come, they put the drums in for me. I use a drum machine and call it a day and don't drive myself nuts. Um, but those are the instruments I play. Though I have not been a singer, I'm getting more into singing and vocalizing and stuff like that so I can begin to sing on my songs. Um, it's a little difficult because I'm dealing with CPTSD, which is complex PTSD, and I've been healing from that now. I'm going to say I've been healing from it and recovering from it since 2022. And again, these are all other episodes. This is why I don't want to get in about me because it's about me is too detailed. My life is too detailed. Everybody's life is too detailed to do an about. And I guess we can bring it down to a summary, but that just doesn't feel legitimate, authentic to me. So I think sharing my stories, um, my history is more authentic for me. It just feels better coming out of me that way in that respect. But yes, so music has been my life. Music has been my love since I was, I guess if you would ask my mother, she would say since I was at least 5 or 6 years old because she knew more about it than I did. She used to walk into our bedroom, me and my younger brother and my older brother and myself, and she'd find me awake and she would say, "David, why are you awake?" And I would say, "I keep hearing music in my head." And music and melodies and bass lines. This is back in the late 60s when I was 5 and 6 years old. It would just keep going in my head and keep going in my head. I'm like, oh God, I couldn't sleep. So, but my mother's an opera singer, so she kind of understood it. And she said, well, you got to get some rest, David, and call it a day. So music has been a part of my life, all of my life. I didn't become serious about music until I was 13 years old. This was after the death of my younger brother, which again, this is another story we'll get into at some later point. This is one of the causes of my CPTSD as well, was his passing. Um, but to me, my life, to give you, I guess, a brief little summary, little something about my life and what has brought me to actually want to do this. When I was doing, I have another podcast called Back in the Dave, and that podcast is all about music. Music back in the day, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores. It's just all about music that I grew up with and us baby boomer folks and grew up with back in those days, right? But I found that during those episodes, I would record those episodes and I would talk about music and I would talk about the movies at that time and television and all the TV shows, Kojak and Good Times and Sanford and Son, the late night, Chiller, Thriller, all that stuff. And when the Jackson 5 first hit the scene in 1969, when I'm talking about all that stuff, it would bring up my childhood and my life back in those days. And I would go into other types of stories about my pain, about growing up with my dad in the house, and all those type of things would begin to come up. And I would find that in some strange way, let's hypothetically, an episode that would have been about the Jackson 5 ended up being about what happened to me as a child listening to maybe Jackson 5 music, right? Um, and the audience, the listeners of the show began to email me and text message me or leave comments about these episodes. And they always talked about their lives, their stories, what happened with them, and how they're still dealing with and struggling with depression, anxiety, PTSD. Some like me, CPTSD. Dealing with those topics. And I'm like, wow, so many of us go through the same thing. But I got into the muck and mire, for lack of a better word, of healing. I got into the science of it, and I began following scientists about health and wellness and the body and the brain and the heart and the lungs and all these different things and how the body really works. And my goal with Keep On Living is to really weed out all of the guru stuff, all of the lifestyle stuff, all of the coaching stuff. And while it's all connected and while it's all good, I'm not here to sell a course. I'm not here to sell a course at all. I'm here to share my story. I am here to share with you the things that I've learned, the information that I've gotten over the past, what, oh boy, 8, 9 years, but really since 2009 that this really began to hit me. But it really kicked in big time in 2018. Um, I, I have consumed so much information. And I found that when I spoke to people, either at work or in music or doing whatever I was doing, family, whatever, I found myself sharing with people what I learned because they would say, oh, I take all these supplements and all this, and that, and this, all of this stuff, and I don't know. And I'm like, well, might want to try this. This worked for me. This worked for me. This worked for my gut. This worked for my microbiome. This really worked for my heart. This worked for this. Well, when I ran, this happened. When I jogged, this happened. And all these things that I've learned, coupled with my experience, to use another phrase these days, trendy word these days, my journey of health and wellness and healing. I am now still healing. So let's not get it twisted. I'm still healing. I'm not this dude that said, hey, I'm cured. I'm cured from my CPTSD and you can do it too. And I'm going to show you how. And I got this course. If you buy this course for $497 or 3 easy payments of $200 and some odd dollars a month, you'll have my course and you too will be freed of all your stuff. No, I'm not that dude. I will have affiliate links and stuff like that. So if you buy something through my website or through one of the podcasts and stuff, I'll get paid. I will make money, sure. And there will be things that I'm going to share, links and things that I listen to, podcasts, different shows and books and things that I do, that you click on that link and I'm just sharing it. There's articles that I'm going to be writing. I'm just sharing. I want you to have the knowledge and information. And at the same time, I will find a way to use this word, bake in um, ways that I can make money with it as well. Okay, so there's no big course coming down the line. There will be things to have you get involved and build a community and work with me, and I work with you, and we learn together, and things that you've learned, share them with me. Things that I'm learning, I'm going to be sharing through the podcast, and I'm going to be sharing it on the website and the community that I look to build with Keep On Living and all that kind of stuff. And the goal is for us to keep on living. Now, this may be a very radical thought that I'm going to say right here. So I hope you get it and I hope you understand this. And I know there's going to be tons of people who are going to oppose me on this and give me a whole bunch of wreck on this. I don't give a who shot Mary Lou in the cornhole. Okay. When I began studying about the human body, how it works, all the different systems, the interconnectivity of all the different systems in the body, from the skin down to the cellular system, the lymphatic system, the glymphatic system, right? Neurons, transmitters, all these different things in the body that make us work, bile coming out the liver, all the gallbladder, the kidneys. I mean, how all these things work, especially going down to the cellular level. I began to understand that what if you give a cell what it needs to live, it can pretty much live indefinitely. When you don't give a cell what it needs to live, or you give cells things that are toxic and stuff like that, it dies. Well, when I looked at the human body, I realized, oh, the whole body is made of nothing but cells. You go below the cells, it's nothing but energy. That's another whole topic there, right? Well, if you give a cell what it needs to live, and it can live indefinitely, and there have been petri dishes, trays, showing this. You put a cell in there, it will live, and give it what it needs, it will live continuously. Well, if the body is made of something like 30, I think, or 70 trillion cells, and that's all it is that makes up the body, along with energy underneath that, when do we supposed to die? Right? When are we supposed to die? We're living longer and longer, right? So when I look at the human body, it becomes my belief that the human body is not supposed to die. It can. We have proven that. We have proven that we can kill it in a litany of ways, in such a great array of ways we can kill a human. It's unbelievable all the ways we found to kill a human body. But have we taken the time out to put the research into realizing the litany of ways that we can keep on living, the litany of ways that we can bring the body to a point where we don't have to die, or we can live indefinitely until we make a choice, like everything else in life, to transition out. And that's my belief. I believe that the human body can live indefinitely. And I know people are like, oh man, we turn this off right now. Go right ahead. I'm cool with that. You know, it's all good. I also believe, when it comes to the human body, that it's not supposed to get sick. It can get sick. You lay on the bed long enough, sit in the chair long enough, it will definitely get sick, and we see that all the time. All kind of things, from diabetes, cancer, all kind of disease, all kind of illnesses. I mean, it's just circulation issues, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, circulatory disease. I mean, it's just disease. Everything is a freaking disease, right? But if you do what I call, if you just give the body its body basics, the basics that it needs, okay, it can not get sick. It will not get sick. It should not get sick. Now, we've also created an environment that we now live in uh, that that doesn't help us stay well. But still, I'll give you an example. I used to get sick twice a year. we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon because this is supposed to be why am I doing Keep On Living? Well, I guess this is why I'm doing Keep On Living. This is what I mean. So this would be an introduction to me and why I'm doing Keep On Living. Um, but when I decided to change my lifestyle in 2006, and this will be another episode, maybe I'll get deeper in. Um, uh, I was actually getting sick most of my life twice a year. I would typically get sick somewhere between late October and November before December. And I noticed it decades ago. I'd be like, okay, I'd tell my wife, here we go, I'm going to get sick at some point soon. And then it would happen again sometime in March and April, I get sick again. And this is typical when the weather seasons change. And I hear people talk about this all the time. People still getting sick in the season. I went outside and the weather goes up and down. The heat, it was hot today, it's spring, it's hot today and cold tomorrow. And they blame all of that on them catching a cold. See, I don't. So I just began doing two simple things in 2006. And it was cold turkey what I did. But what I did was I began to increase my fruit intake and decrease my unhealthy food intake. And what did I notice that was in August of 2006. And what did I notice in like October, November of that same year? I got sick, but it was very short. It wasn't a big cold. It wasn't this whole big thing where my eyes were all red and I was all crusty and mucus in my head and in my chest and I was out. It was none of that. And it didn't even last the whole full week that it would normally last. It was maybe a couple of days and that was it. Same thing happened of March 2007. But I noticed it and I was aware of it. And awareness is a big thing. I was aware that something had changed and I wasn't monitoring it. But all I did, I had one apple and one orange every day. I would do some blackberries, some blueberries here and there, and just began to back off the fried chicken, which was a kill, which was a back off the macaroni and cheese, back off the potato salad, back off the soda, back off the grape juice, the grape soda, Dunkin' Donuts. Uh, yeah, yep. But I put it to the test the next year, and I went all in eating healthy. I switched to plant-based and went all in. More fruits, more berries. I had a very good time. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, just all in. Watermelon, all of this stuff. Just fruits, vegetables, salads, and just removing like 99% of the unhealthy food out of my system. Didn't get sick from from 2008 until 2015. I caught a slight cold in 2015, and that was due to uh, a very stressful family issue that happened in 2015, in April of 2015, which well, I'll tell that story at another point as well. But that brought my immune system down. So I caught a cold in May of 2015 because of that event, took my immune system down. And that cold was so mild and it lasted 24 hours, give or take. So that proved to myself what I read in the books. Like I read this book, and you'll find this book, uh, The Human Body. If you go to the website and look at resources, right? Look at resources, and it's backwards now, but you can read in reverse, right? The Human Body. This book is incredible. And I want to spend some time in this book at some point in another episode because this book was the beginning of me learning about my body. And more than my body, more than just the heart, more than just the lungs, and more than just poop and you have to urinate, more than just these real surface level things. This got in deep about the kidneys, the liver, the bladder, the ureters, I mean, like real deep down to the cellular level of the body, all the different systems, how they work and how they get sick. And once I learned about all of that through this book and other books that I have, right, you will see, I would think, would draw maybe a very similar conclusion that I did. We don't have to die. We're killing ourselves. And two, we don't have to get sick. We're making ourselves sick. Now, I think in most modern day, it's easy to prove that we don't have to get sick, and that's starting to surface out more now. But I've known this since 2006, right? Proving that we don't have to die. There's gonna be a lot of skeptics out there, and but I think as life goes on, and surely past my lifetime, at that point, I have a very high goal to as to how long I want to live. But I think it's going to take maybe even longer than that. Um, for us to really begin to believe that we don't have to die. Oh, well, the Earth population, if we all choose to live forever and ever, the Earth, well, you always plan to go to Mars anyway, so big deal. But anyway, I digress. Let me come back to here. So that's what Keep On Living is all about, is sharing information with you based on my history, my story, my life, my research, my self-education, how I applied these things to myself, and my wife thought I was out of my mind using myself as the guinea pig. Um, yeah, yeah, I did that. Um, so taking all the information that I've learned from 2006 up until this day and putting it out there and building a community and a conversation and getting into, I'm going to say conversation again, really get into conversation, because what I'd like to do is get into deep email conversations, right? Deep comment conversations that we can talk back and forth. And I will also plan to get on video calls, video conferencing calls as well. And we can talk and have discussions and share our stories, um, share our beliefs, talk about what we're working on, what we're doing, and how we can all keep on living. Because I love who I am. I love my body. I love my life. I love this planet. I love being here. It's not all good. I'm not that guy. No, I'm not that guy. I'm not that dude who just thinks I'm in this bubble of bliss and I'm all blissed out and I'm all this, and that. And I don't know what's going on out there in the world, right? There's a lot of crap going on out there in the world, but there's a lot of awesome, great, loving stuff going on out there in the world at the same time. And at this juncture in human life, both are needed. So I'm not just walking around, like I said, like I'm some big guru or some big life coach or some big doctor dude, because I'm not a doctor. I don't give medical advice. I don't do any kind of stuff at all. I'm just a guy, musician, a songwriter, producer of music, who is recovering and healing from 30 years of grief and rage, anger, trauma, stress in my life, and losses that I had no coping skills to deal with at all for the first 30 years of my life. And it just kept coming and coming and coming. And my body couldn't take it anymore. And in 2009, it began showing, well, long before 2009, but in 2009, it began showing real strong evidence that it can't take it anymore. And I didn't understand what was going on with me at that point. I didn't understand. But as I talk, as I tell stories, as I share resources, information, knowledge with you, you will hear more and more and more of my stories. And some of the episodes will just be about my story, to get into the real detail of my life and what has drawn me to doing this along with my music. I have not given up on my music. For those who are following me, who know about back in the day, but David Knight composed and my music and stuff like that. Um, my music website is davidknightcomposed.com. And my other podcast show is Back in the Dave. And you can find both of those at davidknightcomposed.com as well. And if you're interested in this book, you can go to keeponliving.org, the resource page, keeponliving.org/resources. Go to the resource page. I'll put it in the show notes. And you can check out this book. It's still available. It's an old book, but the pictures in this book are awesome. The information is awesome. And you will begin to learn about your body. If you want to keep on living, you cannot keep on living if you don't understand how this works. And that was one of the first things that hit my mind. How does this work? I did not want to give up my body to doctors. I did not. This is my body, right? You have to begin to understand how it works so that if something goes wrong, what can be done, what other crazy tons of ways that you can begin to deal with it, depending on how far you've gone or not, right? So again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. My goal is to bring those people to the show and you can meet them. My goal is just to share with you the resources, the information, the knowledge that I have learned, that I've gained, and that I use all the time for my life, in hopes it will help you find a direction. Hopefully, it'll help you sort through what an allopathic doctor might be saying to you, what a functional doctor might be saying to you, or what some guru might be saying to you because they want to sell a course or they want to sell a product or something. It's like enough already, you know. So yeah, let's keep on living as a trade. It's a trade. I will be looking for information from you, and I'll be sharing my information as well. I want to hear your stories, and I will be sharing my stories as well, and we'll go from there. So in a nutshell, that's Keep On Living, and that's a little bit about me. I hope it holds you over until other episodes that I put out that will give you more info about me and about my journey, as they say, my journey, right? So until then, I will say at the end of this show, as I say at the end of Back in the Day, my Music Back in the Day podcast, as my grandmother would say, keep on living, night out. The human body is amazing. I learned so much by reading the Human Body book back in 2006 to learn so much more about my body and the human body as a whole. If you want to get the book and learn more about your body, check out the links by going to the website, keeponliving.org. And I also put the links below in the show notes as well here on YouTube and or in iTunes. No matter where you're listening, on audio or video, the link is there for you. So check out the book. It's really important to understand how the body works on a much deeper level than just we have these organs, we have these kidneys, we have these livers, we have this, we got this going on. You really want to go deeper in understanding how the body really works. You will see the human body is amazing. It's just amazing. All right. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I appreciate it. Take a listen to the next episode coming up in a few short days. And until then, like I said, as my grandmother said, keep on living. Night out.